Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to firstly thank the members of the Steering Committee of the Energy and Environment Foundation, Mr. Anil Razdan, Dr. Anil Garg, President, distinguished speakers today, now, and before this panel and after. Ladies and gentlemen, guests, students, future leaders, namaskar. I would like to give you a little potted history of Economy Solution Group. We started out as Fuel Economy Solution, just interested in combustion catalysis, improving fossil fuels. We were doing this 3 years before Paris Accord was signed. The theme that Mr. Aurora just referred to about can power, climate change be friends? Yes, and we can advance together. We have some technologies to share with you today, but all of us are working together to create clean growth solutions integration. We may not finish it in our own lifetimes, but we will hand it over and work with you until we can't do any more and hand it over for you to take it forward, ladies and gentlemen. The sustainable finance models that are going to be required do include loss and damage funds, but they also include high net worth individuals with that philanthropic requirement to leave a legacy the way that Chairman Razdan was speaking about in the opening address. It's really quite important as you move through your life to learn lessons. And what I see in this room and what I've seen for years working with many of the esteemed speakers and experienced members of the Steering Committee, International Advisory Council of the Energy and Environment Foundation, is a desire to give back more and to learn. So I'm going to try and give you an essence of some of those things. The greening of coal towards zero emissions, it seems a difficult task, as we've heard. Coal Economy Solution was formed along with 7 other subsidiaries about 60 days after the Economy Solution Group was formed in November 2021. So for 10 years, we were just looking after trying to improve the combustion of fossil fuels, reshaping the burn, leaning up the combustion, saving some money for some customers. So the summary of my presentation today will be really speaking to you from Coal Economy Solution perspective. Proven clean coal focus as our original founding company, Fuel Economy Solution, for the first 10 years. We need to consider the principles of the coal economy transformation and what is greening of coal. The low-hanging fruit for decarbonisation, what can we do now? What can we save money, make savings, make profits to reinvest in the future transition? There's some more difficult challenges. So I'm going to discuss a little bit today about the history of carbon capture utilisation and storage, because that's really important to know where we've come from and the challenges and the lessons to learn moving forward. We have some ongoing and planned R&D. We're constantly looking for technology partners. The Economy Solution Group is a collaborative. We don't own everything. However, decarbonising is the principal activity right now. Biorestoration of the environment is another key foundation stone of our ecosystem, and then increasing biological resilience in society. But nothing happens, ladies and gentlemen, without the money. If you don't have the finances, the wraparound, you can't fund anything, you can't pay for anything, and you end up with a lot of brilliant scientists who have an unfulfilled life, not having any process and progress, and no one to fund them, no one to have faith in them, no one to give us that transformation humanity requires. So we're hoping through Finance Economy Solution to work with high net worth individuals, to bring high value individuals into the philanthropic space, but also to help them develop good commercial opportunities, invest in new technologies, make sure that they're getting some returns, even if they want to give it all away the next day after they've earned it. High net worth programs include private placement, include trades, the ability to work with the standard of, we've got a digitalized economy coming, of course, and the digitalized dollar is not far away. So we're going back to the gold standards, ladies and gentlemen, just like at the end of World War II, just before the Marshall Plans kicked in to rebuild Europe. So I'm going to run through some conclusions at the end, and I hope that you agree we've got a lot to be thankful for, a lot to be grateful for, and a lot to look forward to at the end of this presentation. So, Fuel Economy Solution as we were, our founding company, we have a good track record going back 10 years. We work with the Institute of Eastern Studies in Poland because Poland is king of coal. All the children in London and the southeast of England where I grew up, and by the way, I had asthma as a child. I nearly died at the age of 6 of an asthma attack. So I was interested in climate change and air quality a long time ago. And I thought, well, if Poland's carrying out lots of industrial activity and the wind blows across the English Channel, why not help Poland? Because then it helps us too. So we've done a lot of work in Poland. We've worked in discussion panels, created thought leadership positions. We've been moderators in economic forums with leaders of European Union states. And we've been panel partners to the Eastern Institute, the Warsaw-based institute. The 10th Investment Forum in Tarnów, the plenary session, it was a pretty heavy-hitting thing. I was quite honoured and surprised I was invited to speak, but it was about innovation in the market economy. This is a message for any regulators out there looking at this on the World Wide Web and any in the room. We need the innovation point to be set high, not a low bar. When you know something can be achieved, move the regulatory entry point to the market, make the industry go to that point and get them to compete at that level. It's really crucial that the regulatory framework is quickly following the requirements of what can be achieved. Otherwise, the market will stagnate. It becomes a commodity-based, stack it high, sell it cheap mentality instead of value add to humankind and climate change progress. The third industry forum in Carpatch, we were panel partners with the industry, sponsoring a clean coal, is it achievable? I was trying to get the Polish government and the Polish industrialists to think they could become the global leaders in clean coal. I'd always been passionate about it. I always felt it was possible. And these were my early efforts with my colleagues, with my co-directors, to get this message across. Our proven clean coal focus extends to mining trade missions, especially in the coal and the steel sector. GIG is an acronym in Polish for the Central Mining Institute in Katowice. They've got a huge test facility. They've got a mine called the Barbara mine. It's an exploratory test mine. They do a lot of things there. But they have 20 pilot test facilities, test rigs, each of them as big as a house on the outskirts of Zabrze. This is a 200 megapascal gasifier. You don't find them very often. They have coal sent from all over the world. They do research for everybody. Working with the best people, you create the best results. We were speakers on the UK Green Pavilion invited by the British government at special energy events at COP22 and 23. In fact, we were doing an energy efficiency presentation with 3 other companies from the UK, including, I think, E.ON and the government's Northern Powerhouse chemicals specialist, when 1 hour later, the Powering Past Coal Alliance was launched by Minister Claire Perry, who no longer works for the government. However, the Powering Past Coal Alliance has members that consist of 11% of the world's population. Only one country represented here today, one of our German colleague, who received the esteemed award this morning. He comes from the only country that sits with the Powering Past Coal Alliance that is one of the top 10 coal-based economies. The other 9 have 3.48 billion people. That's 49% of the planetary population. SDGs are a representation of human rights, energy security, and the safety of being able to cook food and be warm is a human right, ladies and gentlemen. So a country in a coal-based economy with a 3.48 billion aggregate in 9 countries have a right under the SDGs to be safe and secure. And so energy security, as it was described this morning by Chairman Razdan and Dr. Anil Garg, these are key principles of greening coal and getting to net zero or even zero emission coal. So during COVID, we started working with a clean coal tech partner. This complemented our technology and our business goals. Economy Solution Group officially launched November 21, I mentioned that, and then Coal Economy Solution the following year. Our subsidiaries include finance because it's key with having money to fund things. At the 10th World PetroCoal Congress, when we were last physically all here, if I recall, but maybe you've had a few events without me, which is all right, I called for transition bonds to become a new asset category. No one was listening. I said that we needed to stop just thinking about hugging trees and being green, and that the dirty job of rolling our sleeves up and transforming fossil fuels, decarbonising fossil fuels, finding ways of making the output of decarbonisation the new input for green and transformation technologies. The only country that's listened is, in fact, Mr. Kunihiko this morning, couldn't have said it better myself, but the Minister and Deputy Chief of Mission, our honorary guest today. Transition bonds in Japan are the only country where you can actually currently find them issued. I suggest any ministers looking at these presentations afterwards that they strongly consider transition bonds, transition financing. If we don't, we're not going to get everything we need from the Loss and Damage Fund. UNEP state that the funding does fall short. We need a President Truman 1948 European-style Marshall Plan to bring the Global South up to pace. We need to bring emerging, frontier, and developing markets into the technology space at the same time as the developed and the West. There should be no 30-year hand-me-downs for new technologies that save lives. So coal economy transformation, it is economic, not just environmental. The transformation must support industry and society. You can't kill the patient on the route to the treatment to try and solve their illness. Backfilling coal, yeah, it's important, but baseload is difficult for the current options. I would say there's so much depends upon coal. We need to work more on our industrial processes. And I think, rather than go through the slide, I think it's pretty simple to say. Green hydrogen, we can solve steel with that. Are we going to use it through tidal? Well, we don't always have 15 metres of tidal range, though we do in South Wales, in the UK. So we need to look at all of our industrial processes. Transforming cement, for example. There's a lot that we can do transforming cement. I won't go through all of these in detail, but the greening of coal is, how can I say, it starts with mining. It starts with the fuel you use to get the coal out of the ground. It then goes through to the processing, the washing. What do we do with the wastewater? What do we do with the coal water slurry? It goes all the way through to the use. It then goes through to the circular economy of the fly ash. What do we do with that? Are we retrieving all the precious metals? And the opposite of letting the mercury oxides fly out the flue gas, what are we doing about that? And what can we do to improve the efficiency of retention of those nasties? So enhancing the recovery of byproducts could increase savings. Carbon capture, utilization and storage is necessary, but it's been previously unsuccessful. I'll just go through a little bit that later. So we need to integrate a number of technologies. It's not just one, it's not a panacea, there's no silver magic bullet. We need systems integrators of clean growth solutions, and that's what Economy Solution Group are here to discuss today and what we offer, because we recognise it's not about us, it's not about one individual technology, but there are some brilliant technologists and businesses out there that could work together in unison with other businesses. We can't really go for SMRs and renewables for baseload right now because they can't fulfill that purpose. I would suggest micro, small and advanced modular reactor nuclear will be the backstop if renewables don't cut the mustard, as we say in England. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about coal activation system. I'm squinting a bit because my contact lenses are a little bit dry. So if I can't quite see everything on the screen over there, excuse me if I ad-lib. The system features uses quantum nanowater and EM laser, electromagnetic laser coal activation. Utilizes the elemental, not the chemical nature of key non-hydrocarbon substances in the coal. This creates a much improved combustion rate, and it results in lower coal feedstock use and lower emissions. Reducing toxic carcinogen outputs, HGO, dioxins, furans, etc., up to 95% from coal-fired power plants. 70% CO and 40% CO2. Now, in terms of the reducing of the coal volume, you'll notice that that's not linear and associated with the 40% CO2. It's 15 to 20% of coal can be saved using this technique and methodology. The first retrofits away from the pilot scale data, the industrial pilot scale information I'm going to share in a minute, are going in a country in Asia, and I've agreed with the license owners that Coal Economy Solution will take on India on their behalf and deliver in parallel. So the technology also reduces coal usage, yes, but creates the same electrical output, so the energy intensity is down. We're offering it to electric utilities at no upfront cost. No one wants to be the first through the door, though the victories for those that are successful doing that are significant. It may well be at some point down the line that we don't fund the retrofits because everyone knows it works and they all want to just pay for the retrofit and not share any of the profits, which is fine. We'll work out a plan for each client that suits them and their budget. So Coal Economy Solution are now partners, but India is our focus. We would obviously like to help Indonesia too, because those are our two main focuses. 1/4 of the global population that can become the leaders in this field. So low-hanging fruit, the decarbonisation steps of this combustion efficiency retrofit. Best applied to pulverised coal power plants, yes. 2 pilot industrial tests have proved that saving, and this is fairly significant pilot industrial scale test. Using these technologies, it's a 2-phase process. So if you look at just the combustion and then you look at the flue gases, that's why the savings are 15 to 20% for coal, but 40% for CO2, because bombarding and activating with lasers the gas particles makes that additional CO2 saving. So I'll turn around now. My contact lenses are drying up as we speak. Lowering the ignition temperature of the coal and increasing the thermal output is one of the key features. Lowering the energy required to heat a given volume of water, that's energy intensity dropped. The system also allows for the addition of a mineral matrix and proprietary lasers to the emission stack. That's the phase 2 installation. Some companies and owners, operators may just want to put the phase 1 on the combustion efficiency. Obviously, the carcinogens, the HGO, the very, very fine 2.5 micron particles, they travel the furthest and cause the biggest damage. So the significant reduction in those will have a long-term benefit on cardiovascular and lung health. So combustion efficiency, reducing all of the toxicity indices, all of the gases across, lowering the workload on the back end electrostatic precipitators, so OPEX will be better, reduce solid waste for recovery, though we have a technique not under research, it's proven, but it hasn't been scaled yet across the world. It's being used to retrieve high-value metals from the fly ash. So the lower retrofit costs apply to the catalyst, apply the catalyst to the coal, but once you actually get moving on this, you're creating profit. You can then draw some of those savings, that can then be recycled into expansion of your operation. Or if you're an investor and you come in and you help, let's say, 20, 30 coal-fired power plant installs, you can then take your savings that year and you can put them into a private placement program. You can go into the markets. You can start leveraging that money. You could even go to the EU or go to the World Bank and do match funding programs. So you make $100 million. I'm talking now to high net worth individuals out there thinking of investing in the coal transformation piece. Make $100 million helping a coal-fired power station, 500 megawatt, and then go and put that into a UN World Bank program and get $200 million worth of output. If you want to make a change, there's your opportunity to get more change for the same money you've made. This is just a summary of some of the test results. They started off in 2004, right up until 2021. You can see they're varied and they build in confidence and output. But we wouldn't want to say more than the 15 to 20, but that's still significant. On the modeling of the pricing with a 500 megawatt power plant, the pricing estimate was $60 a ton in 2019. Very, very conservative in case the price fell. And the savings would be $23 million per year. Well, that would be double for 120, which is more realistic, after you take your costs of transportation and delivery. With the carbon credit revenues, I'm thinking it's close to $50 million, but I haven't got the figures right in front of me. It's not far off. So when you start to retrofit 10, 20, 50 coal-fired power plants, not only do you change your economy, you change the available revenue capital for reinvestment. So we've gone through most of this, so I'll flick through. There's some obviously interesting features there. You can look at this presentation on the web afterwards. The Energy and Environment Foundation always do an excellent job of knowledge management after these events. When you think about being as clean as a gas-fired power plant, if this is going to give you that, that's worth doing. There's some other areas. These are low-hanging fruit, but not hanging as low as the system I've just described. If you want to just take some cost out of your mining equipment, you can do that. There is, not to global scale, but there is a supercapacitor energy storage capability out there. Well, there's more than one. And we could do diesel electric, hybrid electric retrofits. One of the key problems, ladies and gentlemen, is OEM politics. So if you have a mining company that have their own OEM inside the group, they do exactly as the group requires, and they'll allow you to do the developmental work with the equipment without the politics of whether they own the aftermarket technology and IP, which is always the thing that holds people back. I'm not being critical of OEMs. If we own Daimler Mercedes, would we want snake oil in the engines? Would we want, if we were Komatsu making a Caterpillar, would we want our mining equipment having stuff in there we hadn't validated? No, we wouldn't. So I'm not being critical, it's just the politics of risk management. The 2H is referred to there, that's injection of deuterium. It's in a very experimental stage. 0.0015% of the hydrogen in the air is 2H. 3H is tritium, the radioactive. But protium, the 1H, is the normal stuff we all know about. There's certain methodologies using certain special treatments in electrolysis or reformers to create up to 4% concentration of deuterium. Now, you wouldn't normally be able to get hold of deuterium unless you got it from a nuclear power station waste supply contract. So this is in its very early experimental stages, but we may well be looking to invest and bring an investor in to put a venture capital trust together and incubate that technology to validate it so that if we do bring it to you, to the world, to India, to Indonesia, that we know it works. And a $400 box to retrofit an internal combustion engine vehicle could yield you significant savings, cost savings. Improved silver recovery. This is just one of the benefits of plasma arc technology. thermal lance 3,000 degrees C technology. And this in itself is helping in an operation over in the west coast, in Arizona at the moment, retrieve significant amounts of silver from fly ash. There could be a number of other benefits. It's good for working with tailings. And again, we're going to the capital markets authorized by the IP owner to raise funds to build factories to handle offtake agreements they've already got in place for the next 100 years. So this is real technology to improve the mining and the coal process. So thinking about a dear friend of the Congress, Dr. Andrew Michener, MBE, he made an excellent presentation, always does, but in particular a pathway study for India. He's general manager of was the IEA Clean Coal Centre, now it's the International Centre for Sustainable Carbon at the IEA. And implementing those changes, I think what we've described could well be helping with quite a lot of that. Decarbonising, lower emissions, improving air quality. But we do need regulation to keep up with the advent of this technology should we roll it out across India. Support from the government, helpful legislation. What Dr. Michener refers to on the bottom of that slide, the carbon capture and utilisation piece, building that capacity, it's absolutely crucial. I'm going to tell you in a minute about some carbon capture opportunity, but the utilisation is the difficult bit. So the history of CCUS. Boundary Dam was a bit of a problem, Saskatchewan. There's a lot of time and effort spent over the last 20, 30 years on carbon capture, utilisation and storage. When you enter into a CO2 contract with an off-taker, whether they're using it for enhanced oil recovery or not, and whether you like that or not, because it's enhancing the fossil fuel retrievals, but we all know how we need energy security right now. I mean, you're going to get liquidated damages if you do not capture the CO2 and you don't supply what you're contracted to supply. And this is what was experienced by Sask Power with Synovus. Then other difficult challenges, not too distant future. UK government pulled out of carbon capture. Drax, they withdrew $1 billion of funding from the Yorkshire-based plant. It's not an easy area, and there's no simple answer. Oh, by the way, there is a brilliant paper by the International Centre for Sustainable Carbon, as it's now called, on 20 years of carbon capture. I'd recommend you register with them and look at that if that's an area of interest. So current planned R&D and timelines, this is the key unknown. We know it on a lab scale, but can we scale it? It uses an isothermal distillation process. It's a Desai Zimmermann, named after the inventors, fluidic oscillator technology. And it injects microbubbles at a certain density, at a certain size, into a thin film of liquid that causes volatiles to evaporate in a non-equilibrium process. And it does not heat the liquid appreciably. Lab scale results at 94%. So the next step is get it into a VCT, we'll go to the markets, we'll get an investor, and we'll incubate it, and we'll see whether we can get that to scale. And one of the best places to begin, obviously, those pilot industrial testing projects is in India. I won't go through this in detail because I didn't invent it, so I hope you don't mind. However, conclusions. Greening of coal is not only a possibility, but it's essential. We have to keep it, but we have to use it for now. Decarbonisation is required throughout the whole of the supply chain, not just in the combustion of coal. But I have been consistent, and Dr. Anil Garg, I'm sure, will back me up on this. Since I've come to this Congress, since I've spoken to you year in, year out for the last 5, 6 years, I've always said combustion efficiency is key to green economy transformation, and nothing has changed. From mining mineral processing, coal processing, combustion, and the circular economy of reusing the waste, the spoil, the fly ash. Attractive revenue share model is essential to attract investors. Institutional investors, and I speak at local government forums in Eastern Europe and places like that, and they struggle with investment and they scratch their heads because we all do. Why are people sitting on their hands when they have money in the pension funds? Because there's no confidence, because they don't know what's going on, because the green economy transformation is too complex for them to digest. They need simpler explanations and answers. They need education. We should be the educators to help them understand better so they can make better risk decisions. So let's get some breakthroughs and let's shine a light on the pathways. Then the institutional investors can have confidence in letting their money flow. In the meantime, it's high net worth individuals that we're focused on, helping put their money into trade, helping them to leverage their investments into one of the areas, and this is one key area that we're focused on. So finally, greening of coal. Can we reach zero emission? I would suggest yes. Will we have it all over the world by 2030? No. Will we have it by 2030? Absolutely. Combining 40% of the coal activation savings and then 94% of fluidic oscillator carbon capture using the FDZO technology, if we can bring that to scale, then we have ourselves 96.4% emission-free. What we do need to do in parallel is develop the carbon utilization pathways. For example, the advent of supercapacitors, and we'll talk more tomorrow about technology and innovation, but solid state and hybrid graphene supercaps give you so much more than lithium ion and leave you so much less legacy to manage. So a graphene economy is coming. Any of you that want to know more about a career in graphene, don't look it up because it's not there yet, but you've heard it here. Stratigraphic graphene is a special method, which I'm not going to go into right now, but we need huge volumes of graphene, and we need a graphene economy to extract it from marine sludge, waste management facilities IMO accredited in like Jebel Ali, the SLOPS facility that Delsco built. We need to extract every last ounce of graphene out of everything that we can do. We can get it from biomass and pyrolysis of biological matter on the way to producing biochar, which again we can talk about tomorrow in the technologies piece. This will drive the scaling and the commercialization. The graphene economy will drive new EV, new energy storage. We will not lose 1 millivolt of solar and wind, and we will have energy all through the winter and all through the day and the night. So this is the target: carbon neutral coal. Well, 96.4% anyway. Thank you.